Hey guys, and welcome to my very first ever interview with Kelly Hogan. She and I chatted for a while. I just got her story and asked her a couple of questions. I will show you how that went as soon as we come back.
With every start, we are born again. Open your heart.
Welcome everyone to the next episode, well, the first episode ever of me having a guest on my channel. I am so excited to introduce you guys to Miss Kelly Hogan. If you don't know who she is, then you must be living under a rock or something like that. So Kelly, thank you so much for coming today onto my channel. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and you're a carnivore, how long you've been carnivore, why, all of that stuff.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, Amy. I'm 42 years old and I have 3 children now, and I've been eating only meat for 11 and a half years, meat, eggs, and very limited dairy. I do use seasonings. I do drink coffee. Here lately, I have even used some mustard, but that is about as crazy as it gets in my world. Mostly just meat. And the reason why is I was always pretty heavy set as a kid. I was one of the bigger kids in the class. And when I was a kid, there were not a lot of big kids. I would not have stood out nowadays. I'll be honest. I'm a public school teacher. I don't think I would even stand out now, but I did back then. I was eating at the same table as my little brother, who was scrawny. It made no sense. He was a very big eater, and we're both eating very similar ways and similar amounts, but I just kept getting bigger and he didn't. My mom never had a weight problem, but my dad did. I looked a lot like my dad, and I was told that often. When I got to middle school, I got even more obviously chubby, but that's when it really started to bother me. And then in high school, it bothered me enough that I learned I'm just going to basically quit eating. And so I would go as long as I could without eating anything. Or then I would have phases. There are these lean cuisine meals that were, I don't even know if they still make this or not, but it was chicken and green beans. But it was the tiniest, like 3 little medallions of grilled chicken and a few of the nastiest string beans with like some gravy on top. And it was very few calories. I don't know what it was, but it couldn't have been much. That was all I would allow myself to eat for a day. And I was in marching band, somewhat active high schooler, and I would go so hungry. And I lost weight to the point that, and it's because I wanted to look pretty for prom, right? And I have pictures of myself where I look decent for my high school prom, and I was so proud of myself. I was also about to be on the floor. I was so hungry and had no energy. I just, you can't live like that for long. So eventually, always, I would start to eat again. So when prom was over, it was like, oh my gosh, I got in the dress. Thank goodness I can eat. And I would so quickly gain back every bit that I had lost. I did this repeatedly, highs and lows, over and over. And then by the time I got married, I really did want to be a thin bride, but it's like I didn't have it in me anymore to do it, to starve anymore. So I didn't. I just got married with my size 22, 24 wedding dress and thought, well, he likes me. Let's do this. This is who I am. And I gained another probably 30 pounds even after I got married, because we were just happy. We go out to eat every single night, all of the pasta, all of the bread. We were happy newlyweds, and we love to eat. It's what we did together. But I wasn't honestly happy. I was happy while I was eating, but then I wasn't happy when it was time to take off my clothes and be seen, or be seen, in a cute dress. I wasn't genuinely happy with myself, but I did enjoy eating. When I was 25, or around age 24, 25, I started having a new issue, and it was boils. I would get boils on my legs and my backside, and I would have to go to the doctor. Some people are like, what is a boil? Well, it's not sexy. It's like a giant bump that raises up, and you have to have it surgically drained. Awful. And I kept getting them over and over. And the doctor was old and he did not play. He was probably mid 70s at that point. And he said, well, Ms. Hogan, you're just going to keep coming in here to have these drained until one of us dies. I mean, I was like, I'm thinking, gosh, you're 70. I hope it's you. But he didn't seem so sure. He didn't seem so sure of that. And I said, well, what? I don't know what to do. I had changed all of, it felt like it was a hygiene issue. So I was like changing all these washes and using, stronger soaps. He's like, it's the carbs. So this was 2004. So I was 25 years old. I knew nothing. And I said, what is a carb? And he said, well, it's potatoes, breads. He goes through the whole list. I said, well, that's basically what I eat because it has less calories and less fat. He said, he was so smart. I wish I knew. And he's retired now. I never found out exactly how he got so smart at this, but he even knew about the Inuit people, what people usually call the Inuit Indians, and how their culture lived in areas where there was no agriculture, and they were thriving off of fatty whale meat. That's just what they ate. And he said, you are inflamed, and that's why you're getting boils. It's coming out of your skin as inflammation. And the carbohydrates are what are keeping you inflamed. You really need to lose 100 pounds. Well, I just cried. I said, I've tried to lose 100 pounds. I can't do it because I have to eat. And he said, you eat as much as you want of any meats, any cheese, eggs, and he said leafy greens. He added that in too, which is a great place to start. Some people are like, oh, he said leafy greens. I was like, are you kidding me? That was such a crazy novel idea. I do not fault him for including leafy greens. Also, I hate leafy greens, so I didn't really eat them. He did say that diet soda was fine, and so I included sugar-free things for the first 5 years. That was from 2004 to 2009. In the first year, I lost 80 pounds. He did not recognize me at the 1 year checkup. And then I lost another 40 much more slowly. People always say, how long did it take? I mean, it takes like chunk, 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 plateaus. The first 80 was pretty steady. And then it was not after that. But anyway, he really did change my life. Well, at the 5 year mark was when I discovered that carnivore, all meat, was a thing. And the difference for me was that first 5 years was incredibly hard. My gosh, I had cravings the entire time. I wanted sugar so bad. I had insane willpower because I was just so happy to not be overweight anymore. So I was able to fight it for 5 years, but I was getting tired. Like, I didn't know if I could keep this up. So from age 25 to 30, I struggled. Age 30, I discovered that only meat was a thing. And when I found my people, this was at a forum. It's on Facebook now, but it wasn't then. It's called Zeroing In on Health. They were so proud of me. They're like, you're almost totally carnivore. You just got to cut out these sugar-free things. And I was like, well, why would I do that? It's basically my only joy. They said, that's what's keeping this hard for you. It's the sweeteners. It's the sugar-free gum, sugar-free diet soda, sugar-free treats. That's what's making it hard. And in my mind, that's what was keeping me alive. Like, that's what was sustaining me to make it through the day. I didn't understand until that day, like, oh, that's why this is hard. So I cut that out, and the freedom that came then and is still going for the past, that was 11 and a half years ago when I found my dear friends. That's when it got easy. And I really started shouting it from the rooftops then. I was not a huge low carb advocate for that first 5 years. I was happy to talk to people, but I wasn't shouting it from the rooftops because I thought not that many people are this vain that they're going to suffer like I am. This is awful. You know, when you're really struggling every day to do something, you don't want to just be like, you've got to do this. It's awesome. But then once I found out how easy it can be, now, obviously, I'm more than happy to talk about it. So that's how I came to this crazy all meat thing.
That is so amazing that you found a doctor who
Yes.
back then knew what it was, because now doctors just they don't know. They don't get it. They
No.
don't believe it. A lot of times they're really anti. I think keto is a bad word. It's a four-letter word. It's the K word. I do not use it at all. And I tell my kids, I'm like, we don't talk about the fact that you're keto. We just say you have a lot of food sensitivities. So, and speaking of your kids, they were I guess, a happy side effect of your carnivore diet as well.
Yes. So I had been married for a few years before I even went low carb. Not many years. I did get married young, but I was, 23. So maybe just 2 years before I started low carb. And so once I went low carb, I did lose weight, but everything was not great. Was not eating enough fat during that 5 years. Because again, I'm just basing it off of one conversation with an amazing doctor. I just ran with that for 5 years. I really did not do a lot of research. It was working. I was losing weight. It was great. I was hungry and I had cravings, but it was working. That was enough for me. And for 5 years. And then, but by the third year of that, I lost my cycle completely. Mm-hmm. So it is partly a problem of carbohydrates. Yes. But also you have to replace it with something. Sometimes women say, I went carnivore and lost my cycle. Okay. Are you eating fat? Are you eating enough? Are you working out for 2 hours per day while eating basically a piece of grilled chicken? Because it's not the fact that you're not eating cake that caused you to lose your cycle. That's not the problem. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I didn't know what was wrong. And at that point, I didn't care for a while too much. I was like, well, one less thing to deal with. Again, I didn't come down this path to try to get longevity. I just wanted to not be overweight and didn't want to get bumps on my rear. That was it. And those things were gone. It's like, sweet. But then around age 25, I thought, okay, well, I'm going to someday want some children. That's going to be hard to do without a period. So when I found the carnivores, then they said, look, if you want a family and you actually want to get healthy, you need to listen to us. Eat fatty meats. Stop with this grilled chicken garbage and eat some fatty meat. And so that's what I did. I mean, about 3 pounds of very fatty meat for the first 6 months. That's what I needed every day. Mm-hmm. And my body was screaming for it. But then my period came back and I got pregnant. And I did stay pregnant through all 3 pregnancies. I did stay pregnant. Well, I did that too. I also stayed carnivore during all 3 pregnancies. And that worked pretty well. It was not always easy, but it worked.
I remember watching some of your videos, talking to your husband, telling your husband, go eat ice cream so I can watch you eat ice cream. It
got pretty intense. I mean, you've had children. You know that things are very different sometimes while you were pregnant. It's like an out-of-body experience. Who is this? And I went from having no cravings at all to the idea of ice cream. It's like it just took over my brain. And somehow watching him eat it, it's like, well, at least somebody is eating this. I better eat faster. Go ahead.
You're sitting there salivating.
He's doing a lot.
But that's all right.
He's like, this feels wrong. Yes. It was
hilarious.
better than me eating it. Somehow that gave me satisfaction, but I've been okay ever since the last one was born.
So did you ever worry about staying carnivore while you were pregnant?
Oh, girl, yes. The first time. By the third time, no, I felt very confident. Nobody could tell me anything with that third one. You know how it is. The more kids you get, you're yeah. Don't talk to me. I know what I'm doing. But on the first one, I didn't know what I was doing. I had literally never met or even talked to or read about one single other person personally that had only meat while they were pregnant. Nobody. Now, it turns out that there was Charlene Anderson. She had already done it twice. But I didn't know that. I know it now. And of course, we mentioned the Inuits. They obviously had babies while they were not having agriculture. Like, I knew the concept existed. I just didn't personally know anybody. And so when my doctor, who I had been with a long time, is saying, eat the rainbow, you're going to get hemorrhoids. We are actually flagging you for the possibility of having a child with Down syndrome. When your doctor is telling you things like this, of course I was scared. By that point, I had gotten where I really, really wanted this baby. I mean, I was just so nervous that I was going to mess this up. And I wanted to be a mom so bad. And I know that's what many first-time moms feel. So hopefully a lot of you get what I'm saying. I didn't want this to be my fault because I wanted to lose weight and that I'm going to hurt my child. So I went to my carnivore guru friend, Charles. He was the very first real carnivore that I met, Charles Washington. He leads the group Zeroing In on Health. And I said, I'm nervous. Should I maybe add in some carbs just while I'm pregnant? He said, listen, I'm not ever going to tell a pregnant woman what to do. I was like, well, that's smart. He said, if you feel like you have to have them, that's one thing. He said, but if you're only doing this because of what somebody else is telling you, he'd say, let me remind you, young lady, that you were an unhealthy human. And then you started eating only meat and became a healthy human. And that little one in your belly is also a human. So I don't know why you think eating meat would be any different for her. I said, well, there's that, right? There's that. That's true. And he said, if you feel better this way, and he also said, if this is the diet that allowed you to get pregnant in the first place, why would you go changing it now? Good point. So I listened to him and not my doctor. And he's also one that's quick to say, he says, look, I'm not a doctor, but I'm just going to tell you facts. And those were the facts. This is the diet that allowed me to get pregnant. It is what got me healthy. And then I was able to have 3 cute little babies.
So with the kids and successful pregnancies and beautiful babies, did you ever think, okay, I need to feed them rice cereal and the little puffs and all of that stuff? Or did you decide to keep them low carb as well?
Well, when I was pregnant the first time, one of the biggest fights, and I don't mean like smacking each other around, but arguments that James and I got into was whether or not we were going to feed our kids carnivore or at least close to it, low carb. I was honestly vouching for pretty close to carnivore, and he's like, are you insane? He was not feeling it up. So my husband eats whatever he wants to. He's a moderator. He doesn't have weight or health problems. He doesn't eat total garbage. He tries. He eats a lot of salad, more traditional health food, right? What most people would say, oh, he's doing okay. But then he'll also have a frozen pizza and some ice cream. And he does not have like horrible side effects. He can deal. He's just doing okay. And so to him, it was like, why would we not just raise them like normal kids? I said, well, I was raised like a normal kid and it did not do good things for me. I had a raging sweet tooth, an obesity issue. I ended up inflamed. I was sick a lot as a kid, just what we would consider now normal kind of stuff. I was diagnosed with asthma. I had bronchial strep throat a lot, nothing that would even stand out nowadays. Mm-mm. But looking back, I think that can't be why is that considered normal childhood? Mm-hmm. And I just didn't want that for my own kids. And he didn't either, but that just wasn't his experience. He was a pretty healthy kid. So he just assumed they should eat that way too. So we came to a compromise, and I was probably like 12 weeks pregnant when we were having this fight about what our child would eat. So it's funny now. It wasn't funny at the time. Yeah. I was pretty mad. I was like, okay, you just don't know what all I've been through. He's like, I do. I was there. So the compromise we have come to is this. They do eat very meat-based. If they want vegetables, they can have them. One of my children actually loves vegetables. I don't know how I got one like that, but she does. She also loves meat, but she's a big eater and will eat anything. 2 of my kids don't really like vegetables anyway, so it's not a thing. And we do limit fruit. They can have fruit, but just fresh fruit and limited. They know themselves. They actually have really learned that they don't feel great if they eat a lot of fruit, and they do get cravings for it. And my girls, they're getting a little old to say this, I guess, but when they were little, let's put it that way, when they were really little, they would burn when they peed if they ate too much fruit. And so they learned that about their own bodies. And I have not had to be the carb police at my house like I thought I would have to be. It's here, but they've never tried it. And I'm not going to say they're not curious about it at all, but they do not ask me to eat. They really want to eat like me. They talk far more about being a carnivore someday than they ever talk about eating carbs someday. They kind of want to be, but they know, like my oldest will say, I think I'll be a carnivore someday. And she even does some carnivore days now. And it's not about weight loss. I don't ever make it about weight loss here. They've never known me to have a weight problem or to talk about weight or to want to lose weight. It's all about feeling good. I try to keep it completely about feeling our best. And she will say, I had so much fruit yesterday. I think I'm going to have only meat today. Today I'm going to be a carnivore. I'll say, great, go ahead. And then the next day she'll say, I think I want a few grapes. Okay. I like the fact that she's learning, but they never say, I feel like I'm just going to have an ice cream sundae or anything, but they've never tried it. So they also don't have cravings for that.
Yeah. Ours, we're a blended family. So my little one, it makes me wonder, because when I was pregnant with her, I was standard American diet, exactly what the doctor told me to do. Yeah. She was 9 weeks early and she was only 2.5 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
And we had all kinds of, I had all kinds of health problems. I almost died giving birth to her. And it makes me wonder, had I gotten healthy sooner, would I have been able to keep her in longer? Because she's my fourth one.
Well, let me throw this out there. Okay, let me say this, because I want to be really transparent here. My first child came early, 7 weeks early, actually. Oh. And she was, her lungs were fully developed. She needed nothing except she was a little jaundiced. Well, she was more than a little jaundiced. She was like Oompa Loompa, but she just needed some light. She was jaundiced. But she didn't need anything else. She was fully developed when she was born, but she came early and we don't know why. My other two didn't. I don't know. So sometimes, she was also really bad at birth. She's been great at everything since, but she was pretty terrible at being born. She was breech. She wouldn't turn. Like, she really struggled. So I do think that diet can make a lot of amazing things happen. And it's possible that if you had been carnivore, that maybe she would have stayed in, but also maybe not. I don't know what makes them come sometimes early or late, or sometimes, people on great diets who are very low carb, they can still have a miscarriage. I don't want people to think if something ever goes wrong in life, it's because I did something wrong. Mm-hmm. Maybe not. Maybe that's just how things were meant to go right now, or something where you don't even understand, right?
Yeah. When we've got a story now and we can help other people and be there to support other people. And but our kids, they're almost all either keto or carnivore. And awesome. There's one, my little stepson, him and plants, they do not get along at all. Oh. So he's 8 and he's almost always completely strict carnivore, because he'll eat something and he'll just be like, I do not feel good. I mean, he'll throw up. So,
oh man.
And he's growing and healthy. Yeah. You can tell what your body needs when you're not inflamed anymore. And like you were talking about with your husband, I've heard the saying, the lucky ones get fat. Yep. Because then there's a problem. Something's, going on, and it's like, it's obvious to everybody. You didn't only have that, you had boils and everything else. So but
I don't think I would have, if it weren't for the weight problem, I know myself, I probably would have just kept getting boils lanced. Like if I was, the way I wanted to look, but still had some boils, I'd probably be like, well, keep chopping. That's terrible. I should have wanted to do it to just lower inflammation. Now I'm so much more about health, but I really, really struggled with this because I just wanted to look the way I wanted to look. And it turns out that it fixed a lot of other things too. So I'm very thankful. But you're right. In a way, the lucky ones get fat because it's so motivating to so many of us. But the first time I heard Charles say that phrase, and I don't know if it originated with him or not, I really wanted to punch him because he was never really that overweight. He did this all for health, but he's like, really, the lucky ones get fat because they have something to see and to motivate them. And I was like, that's stupid.
It's so frustrating, but it's so true. And
yes.
It's the same thing with me. I had so many mental problems. I was on medications for 15 plus years, like 6 antidepressants. I mean, maxed out really bad. And I thought it was my genetics. It's the way it has to be. And then I went keto and I lost the weight. I went after the weight, not the mental health. And I healed that. And that's when I was like, there's more to this. There's so much more. And that's what you got to find your why. And that is why I will stay carnivore with a little bit of veg I call it ketovore because I do eat a little tiny bit of veg, but it's like an onion here and there or some garlic. But other than that,
look,
or some
if you
salsa.
can't, right. If you can, why not? I just now finished right before our call, a one-on-one coaching session with a woman who really loves asparagus. And she said, I did total carnivore for 30 days, and she seemed like scared to tell me this, like I was going to snap at her or something. She's like, but I have started adding back in a little asparagus. I said, and she's like, and I don't know she's like, I don't know if I'll keep doing it. I said, no, I mean, and how's it going for you? She's like, oh, I mean, good. I said, well, maybe you can have asparagus. I mean, maybe that's not a problem. I said, I already knew she was trying to lose weight. I said, has it affected anything weight-wise? She said, no, I'm still losing weight. I said, are you craving cake now? And she said, no. I said, how about your joints? Does it make you feel any worse? Because she had a lot of knee pain. She said, no, she does worry that it will cause her to creep into other things. I said, that is a legitimate worry for some of us because there are some of us that are so carb cravey that I worry that if I were to have a handful of peanuts, that then I would want a handful of something else or, that it would creep up. I said, but if you really just love asparagus and you're able to have it, why would you not? Just go ahead.
No, 100%. Speaking of you said cake, you brought up cake. I have to thank you. Your oopsie cake is the base for my magic cake. I took that. Yes. And I took it and I made a magic pumpkin. You can leave the pumpkin out of it, but a lot of people really like pumpkin pie. And so that was the base and that was what started the creation of this cake.
Oh, cool. Well, great. Well, so I do not ever take much credit for this at all because there was oopsie bread long years ago, oopsie bread. And basically I just left out the sweeteners, put it in a different shape, added a bunch of cream to it and said, look, here's the link to the original recipe if you want to do it that way. Or some people call it cloud bread. I said, but you can pretty easily turn this into a cake. And my kids, we don't do artificial sweeteners, but some people do still add in there stevia or whatever they're adding. And so I didn't create the base of it either. I don't know who did, but I'm thankful for it because it's a great alternative to cake.
It really is. I've made it and my husband's taken it to work with him before. And he put it out there and just put diabetic safe on it. It said that it's safe for diabetics. The cake was gone in about 4 minutes. And everyone was like, oh, there's no way this is healthy, so then he pulls out his phone and shows everybody the macros and he's like, oh no, it is. So, but anyways, the cake is like the major big hit. So one thing I'm going to start asking everybody, what do you put in your coffee?
Well, this is coffee right now, actually. I use a very tiny bit of heavy cream these days. If you've ever seen past interviews, that answer may vary because I don't, I change a little bit here and there too. Not much, but a little. Sometimes I'll go through phases of no dairy at all. So it will be just totally black coffee, but I don't love black coffee. I just want the edge of that bitter taken off. I just don't love the bitter. Some people say put a pinch of salt in it will take the bitter off, but I really like heavy cream. I've tried it. It helps a little. I actually love tons of cream in my coffee. If I had it the way I wanted it, it would be like cream and coffee.
Cream and coffee.
But I do have to watch my dairy intake. My skin does not love a lot of dairy. I can tell. I get breakouts. I went on vacation. Well, first of all, I just threw all of my skincare out the window for an entire week at the beach. So I'm sure that didn't help. But I also ate a lot more cheese and was much heavier with the cream because it's vacation. It felt festive. I came home. I was like, my skin was just broken out. And it's pretty much back to normal now, but limited cream for me.
There's no judgment here. I love your saying about coffee. Technically, is just water that touched the beans. You said that. I literally was in tears. I was laughing so hard. I was like, she is my hero. This is my mantra for the rest of my life.
You know, the day I first said that, I remember that day because I always would get so much grief over the fact that I drank coffee. They're like, well, you're not even, I've been told legitimately, well, everything at one point or another for 11 years, I've been told everything, but many times you're not even actually a carnivore because you drink coffee, you know, insert eye roll. But then I finally one day I was like, that's not even a plant. It's water that touched the plant, and that's allowed. And I've stuck with it ever since. That's what I'm saying. Now, for me, I do feel like coffee can be part of a carnivore diet because I have tried long stints without it repeatedly, including, you know, breastfeeding a very long amount of time. I decided for myself to not have coffee when I was pregnant. And then also I just did 90 days without coffee at all because I like to check in. I like to make sure. Truly, I don't feel any difference. But it doesn't matter what I say or try. There will be somebody who will come along and be like, you know, you have to have it out of your system for a full 6 months to actually tell a difference. 6 months? Leave me alone. Leave me alone. I like my coffee. I personally can't tell any difference with or without it, except that I really enjoy drinking it. And I can get to where I don't feel addicted. By the end of 90 days, I was fine, but I like it. So I'm going to drink it.
I did the same thing. I took it out and I was like, I'm just curious to know what happens if I have a cup. And I love it so much. And there was no change. Nothing changed. And I went except for it just makes me happy. So why not? Right.
Why not? It's not like we get a lot of lives on this earth. This is my one time on the earth and I enjoy my coffee. So
amen.
That, friends.
Preach it. There we go.
Thank you. Now, if I started to have sleep problems, sometimes people will say, I'm not sleeping well, or I can't get rid of this, that, you know, if you're having problems, even I will say, well, first of all, have you tried it without dairy? Have you tried it without dairy? But have you tried carnivore without coffee? And they're like, well, you drink coffee, but I can handle it. Maybe you can't, right? If somebody has severe gut issues, they might have to cut it out, but you know, do what you can do.
Most of the time, it's okay. And I tell everyone, you are a giant experiment. You got to try it out for yourself. But anyways, let people know. Do me a favor. Let people know that if they want to find you, where you are, where they can find you and find out more about zeroing in on health and all of that.
Oh, thanks. On YouTube, if you just type in My Zero Carb Life, and it does not have to be one word, I don't think. My Zero Carb Life. That's my YouTube channel. And on Instagram, I'm Kelly_Hogan91. And that's where I do most of my stuff. If somebody needs more intensive help, I am running some coaching groups right now. July and August are full, but I'll be posting some September ones too. So I'm not a doctor, but I really do like trying to motivate and help and encourage and inspire people to give them a community. I love being a part of just a community that is feeling better because we're doing what we need to do for our health.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I'm getting ready to start coaching as well. And it's terrifying, but it's so exciting because it's just so life altering.
Yeah. Well,
for
I'm pretty
everybody
new
and
to the
everything.
official coaching. I just did it on Facebook in carnivore groups, just on my own for many years, and just started in June officially coaching.
Anyways, thank you so very much for doing this and chatting.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you again. All right, I'll see you online.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Amy.
So that was my interview with Kelly. She is exactly the same in person as you see her on YouTube. What you see is exactly what you get. She was just such a sweetheart and lots of fun to talk to. I love her outlook on life. I love the way that she sees things and kind of tries to put things into perspective. Her kids, just as crazy as my kids. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy that as much as I did. Thanks so much for stopping in, guys. Leave a comment down below and let me know who you think I should reach out to and try to do another interview with, who you would like to see, and maybe some questions that you have for that person, and we'll see if they would be willing to come on to my channel and have a chat with me as well. Anyways, thanks so much, guys. Please do all of the things. It's a huge help, a huge support. Share this with anyone who might be struggling with infertility. Maybe this would be encouraging for them to watch and see that there is a way to potentially heal from that and start their family that they've always wanted. Thanks so much, guys, and we'll see you on the way. Bye.
Gravy that I worry that if I were to have a handful of peanuts, oh, there's Annie back there. She's waving. Honestly, there's Thomas.
I know.
One by one, make your appearances, children. The dog will be next. Aww,
I'm being invaded now. This is Bella. I know you can't hear her because I got earbuds in. I'll take them out.
We'll see.
Hey, Bella.
Hi. Is that Miss Kelly?
Hi. So cute.
Yes. So I will get this. You want to go in the where room? The great room. Yes, baby.